All right, today we're jumping into a really interesting framework for marital encouragement. It's from H. Norman Wright's book, Bringing Out the Best in Your Husband. And it's a deep dive, really, into how encouragement, or, the lack of it, can totally shape a relationship. So, let's get into it.
So the author, H. Norman Wright, he kicks things off with the end goal in mind. He suggests that these are the words every husband, deep down, really wants to say to his wife. And this one sentence, it just perfectly captures the ideal outcome. A man who feels seen, supported, and truly, genuinely believed in.
But of course, that ideal isn't always the reality, is it? So the book immediately flips the script and pivots to the central problem it's trying to solve: discouragement. It sets the stage by asking, okay, what does it actually look like when a man feels the exact opposite, when he feels completely disbelieved in?
To really get the solution, the author says we first have to diagnose the problem, and he paints this really powerful picture of discouragement as the state that can leave a man feeling totally helpless and hopeless, almost paralyzed by this sense of failure.
Okay, this is where we get a real aha moment from the book. What's so fascinating here is how the author reframes all of these behaviors. He argues they aren't just character flaws, they're symptoms of something much deeper. Essentially, discouragement puts a guy on the defensive. He might become obnoxious or controlling, not because he's arrogant, but as this kind of backward, counterproductive way to get the affirmation he feels he's missing.
So what's the root cause of all this discouragement? Well, Wright points the finger directly at criticism. He argues that when you're constantly finding fault, it sends this powerful message of non-acceptance. It's basically saying, you're not good enough, and I just can't accept you the way you are.
And to show just how damaging criticism can be, the book gives us this incredibly memorable term, the zinger. It's described as a verbal guided missile, that one sharp, cutting remark that just lands with so much impact it can completely wipe out the goodwill of 20 positive actions. I mean, think about that. A 20-to-1 ratio of destruction. That's wild.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. The author presents encouragement not as some kind of simple, fluffy idea, but as this really powerful, transformative tool, something that can inspire real change and unlock a person's potential.
And here's a really crucial point in the book mix. Encouragement is not the same as praise. Not at all. See, praise is conditional. It's a reward you get for winning, for being the best. But encouragement, that's unconditional. It affirms a person's value, their effort, their contribution, no matter what the outcome is. It's about who they are, not just what they accomplish.
This quote just brilliantly illustrates the power of that unconditional acceptance. The book shares this incredible story of a Royal Air Force pilot whose face was severely burned in a crash. His wife's unwavering love and acceptance literally gave him a new positive image of himself. Like he said, "She became my mirror." Just wow.
To explain this even more, the author uses this fantastic analogy of a four-eyed fish. Apparently, this fish can literally see above and below the water's surface at the same time. And an encourager, he says, does something kind of similar. They see their partner for exactly who they are right now, flaws and all, but at the same time, they hold this clear vision of the person they have the potential to become.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory. But how do you actually do it, right? Well, now the book shifts from the what and why of encouragement to the practical how, offering up a toolkit to put all these ideas into action. The very first tool is listening, which Wright calls one of the most healing gifts you can give. And this isn't just passively waiting for your turn to talk. No, it's active. It's listening with your eyes to catch nonverbal cues, resisting that really powerful urge we all have to jump in with advice, and simply validating their perspective. It's all about making someone feel truly, deeply heard.
The second tool is knowing what to encourage. The book actually points to Dr. Willard Harley's work on 5 core needs. The idea here is pretty simple. If you know what someone fundamentally needs, whether it's having fun together or feeling admired, you have a clear roadmap for where your encouragement is going to have the biggest impact.
So building on that idea of understanding, the author argues that to be really effective, you have to recognize potential differences in how we communicate, and he presents a view based on his interpretation of how male and female brains might often function a little differently.
Now, according to the author's model, the male brain can operate in what he calls an exclusive mode, super focused on one thing at a time, kind of like tunnel vision.
This view suggests men often need to process problems internally, in their own heads, before they're ready to talk. In contrast, the book describes the female brain as working more holistically, often processing thoughts by actually talking them through. You can see how these different styles could easily lead to some misunderstandings.
And this leads to another key analogy from the book, the cave. The author suggests that when a man is faced with a problem, his instinct is often to retreat into this mental space to sort it all out by himself. In this framework, that's not him rejecting you, it's a necessary problem-solving strategy that just requires some space, not a lot of intrusion.
And this quote from the book really captures the frustration that can bubble up when that need for processing time isn't understood. That feeling of being pressured to respond right away can, according to Wright, lead a man to use anger as a defense, just to get the space he feels he needs to think.
So all of this brings us to the final section of the framework, which ties all these ideas together with one big overarching concept. The author presents this as the ultimate expression of encouragement: respect.
Yeah, the book is incredibly direct on this. It frames respect not as a bonus, not even as something that has to be earned first within the relationship, but as a fundamental, non-negotiable need, as vital and essential as oxygen.
And this isn't just some abstract feeling, right? It's shown through concrete actions. The book gives these really practical examples, like showing you have faith in his judgment, focusing on the effort even if he messes up, and listening to his frustrations without getting defensive. Each one is a tangible way to say, I value you.
So here's the crucial point, the big finish. The author argues that respect isn't just a reaction to good behavior. Instead, he presents it as a proactive, unconditional catalyst, something that can actually inspire a husband to grow into a man who is worthy of that honor in the first place.
So to sum it all up, the book gives us this really clear problem and solution story. It says, discouragement, which is rooted in criticism, is this destructive force. And it offers encouragement, defined by unconditional respect, active listening, and acceptance, as the key to unlocking a man's best self.
So we'll leave you with a final thought that really gets to the very heart of this whole framework. The book is built on this idea of seeing potential right alongside reality. So the question is, what is the power of that perspective in any of our relationships, whether it's professional, personal, or romantic?
Thanks so much for joining us to explore this framework. We'll see you in the next explainer.